single day I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Hello, thank you for joining me. My name's Cerise Fairfax. I'm located in the Dominican Republic, North Coast, in a province called Puerto Plata. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to Story Time again, located in Sosua. Guys, I gotta tell you, this story was brought to me from Clay and Anna. It's not their real names. I conceal all the names for confidentiality purposes. However, this is a story that is very real. So the backdrop, Clay and Anna. Well, Clay found out about the Dominican Republic one time when he was looking online at tropical escapes. So he came here to an exclusive hotel. He really enjoyed it, and he met a few guys on the resort. The guys rented a car and they invited him to go along for the drive around the island. And at first he was nervous because he's like, well, is it allowed and is it safe? And they were like, man, just come on. So they all piled into the car and they traveled from the north coast to the south coast. It took them a few days and they loved it. It took up the last part of his trip, but he felt like he didn't have enough fun on the road, off the resort, getting to know the people, in the culture, with the food, the family, and all the fabulousness. So he said to himself, the next time he comes to the Dominican Republic, he's going to rent a car and do the exact same thing. So said, so done. He came back a few months later and he rented a car. He got the same hotel and he rented a car and he did the exact same thing, went around the island. At one point, he decided that he was going to go in by just between Santiago and Puerto Plata. Sosua and Santiago. And it's called Jessica, a place called Jessica. And it is a little town. It's beautiful. They have wonderful amber mines there, amber stores, and also Larimar, which is indigenous to this country here. Larimar is a beautiful blue stone only found in the Dominican Republic so far. So he wanted to get some really nice, beautiful pieces of jewelry for his mother. He pulled over, and one of the ladies who was serving him was 19-year-old Anna. 19 at the time. 19-year-old Anna. Anna looked at him. She had never really seen too many gringos, only passing by, but she never really saw a gringo that she was really interested in. Now, the backdrop on Anna, she was raised with a pastor. Her father is a pastor. Her mom is a very dedicated, loyal woman. Anna never went to clubs before, never been to a disco, only stayed in the countryside. Jessica is in the countryside. And the most she would do is go to the river with her friends and have fun. She didn't drink alcohol and she didn't smoke at all. She was a very wholesome girl, if you will. So Clay could see this immediately. He was just like, wow, I am so smitten by this girl. So he looked at her, and Clay was learning Spanish between his first trip and the trip he was on then. He was learning Spanish online through YouTube videos. And the reason why he was learning Spanish was because he wanted to be able to speak on his trip when he knew he was going to be traveling the island alone. By the way, very important point. When he came back alone. He rented the car alone and traveled alone. So it's pretty safe. And then he said to her in Spanish, his broken Spanish, it wasn't fluent yet. And he asked her if she could take his phone number. Now, this is before any type of internet and cell phones. This was before she could have a cell phone in her home. So he would have to contact her on a home phone, and he would also have to contact her through scratch long distance cards and stuff of that nature. And he said it was tricky back in the day, but they made it work. And they didn't talk as often as people do these days with WhatsApp. He said, but again, they made it work. So he did get her phone number at that time, and they did make it work. Her dad and her mom already approved of Clay that day, because that day when he bought the Amber in Laudamar, they invited him to stay for lunch. And he did. He ended up staying the whole entire day, and he left just before it got dark so he could get to his Airbnb in Sosua. Now, he rented an Airbnb in Sosua, just for not necessarily an Airbnb, a hotel room. And he rented it just for the night in case things got late and he couldn't make it back. And he did want to see Sosua. So that was it. He came to Sosua and he thought about her all night. He called her when he got to the hotel room. And then he went and he visited her the next day on his way back around the country, and he got to see her again for a few hours. She took him to the river, and it was really nice. Then he left and he went back to his country where he comes from, California, to America. So he went back to his state where he's from, and he's in California, and they're making it work. He came back here to visit, and he kept on coming back to visit her. And after about a couple of years, he could see that she was a really good girl, and he wanted to take her to America. So they started to work on the paperwork, but he really wanted to know exactly, before he married her and took her to America, he wanted to know what she was all about, and he wanted to spend more than just a week with her, because for 2 years he would be spending just a week at a time every time he came down 3 times a year. And he felt like he wanted to do a whole month. So he went to his boss and he told his boss, his boss really respected him. A lot of people respect Clay. And he went to his boss and he told his boss he's going to need, a 3-week sick leave. And the boss didn't even ask him why. And so he took the 3-week sick leave, but added his 2-week vacation that he was owed. 1 week that he had banked and 1 week that he was owed. So he banked that other one on purpose. He only went when he really had to. So if he went to visit her, he would use his days, sick days and stuff like that, when he did go on vacation. So he did have vacation days banked. So now he decides that he's going to go to her place and stay with her for a month in her family home. 5 weeks in her family home. They invited him. They knew he was coming, and he was used to it anyway, because when he did come here, he always stayed with her and her family. Actually, her aunt would give up her house for Anna and Clay, and the aunt would sleep at Anna's house and Anna's bed, just so Anna and Clay could have their privacy. I thought that was very touching. They knew how important it was for Anna to find a really good man and leave her family and be able to be taken care of, or help take care of herself one day. So these two were really in love. And when he arrived, she was on her period. Now, when he left, she missed her period. He was there for a whole month. He knew she wasn't doing anything, going anywhere. She didn't go to clubs or anything. So he knew it was his child. He just knew it. When he got back home, he knew she missed her period when he was here. And part of him really wanted her to be pregnant, even though they weren't married yet. He just wanted her to be his forever. So when he got back home, he kept checking on her. Did you get your period? Did you get your period? She didn't. So when he made his next trip down, it was only going to be for a weekend, and he wanted to marry her and get everything legit once he found out, okay, she's pregnant. So he did that. He did marry her. Now, the papers took a little while to go through, so it didn't happen before she had the baby. It happened after she had the baby. Now, when she arrived in California with the baby and ready to be with her husband and be a family, she met her mother-in-law. And the mother-in-law wasn't so bad, so it's not a mother-in-law story, but the mother-in-law did not trust a thing. So the mother-in-law told Clay, get a DNA test done, please. And Clay was like, no, Mom, it's my baby. What was she supposed to do? Escape next door during that month and 1 week? She was with me the whole time. And the mother was like, no, you can't trust it. She could have a boyfriend 3 houses down, pretending that it's her uncle's house or her brother's house, go in there, get a quickie, and then go back to the apartment, to the house. You just can't trust it. And Clay was just like, whatever, Mom. And that was it. He just ignored his mother. So one day the mother was babysitting, and she went to pick the baby up from Clay and Anna's, and she took the baby to a DNA clinic. Oh, but wait, before she took the baby out of the house, she also went upstairs into the washroom and took Clay's toothbrush. Apparently, you can get some type of a DNA swab from a toothbrush or something of that nature. So she got the baby swabbed and she gave the toothbrush to the clinic, and within a few days, I guess it was, a few weeks, I'm not sure, she got the results back. When she got the results back, she was brazen enough to run to their house pretty much, and she had the results in her hand. Clay and Anna told me that she pretty much swung the door open and said, oh my gosh, give me my grandchild, give me my grandchild. And she picked up her grandson, she kissed her grandson, kissed him, and she threw the papers down on the table and said, here, oh Clay, it's your son. And Clay looked at her, and Anna felt deceived. Anna just couldn't even look at her. Clay looked at his mom like, Mom, of course it's my son. I told you that. And she's like, yeah, but you never know. And she's like, Anna, I'm really, really sorry, but I'm sorry. I just had to do it. These nightmares always happen. Thank you so much for being a loyal woman. But by this point, it was too late. Anna lost the respect of the mother. Anna's like, that's what you think about me? Anna did not comprehend that the mother was just trying to look out for her son and her own heart. The mother, I'm sure, I'm a grandmother myself, and I'm sure that the grandmother just wanted to know before she opened her heart and her home to a child, she didn't want any heartbreaks later finding out that the kid's not her grandchild. So I get it. But it was a little underhanded the way she did it. At the end of the day, she got her answers, and that was it. Now, fast forward. Anna and Clay decide they want to try for another child. And Anna decided that, at this time, Anna's now working, their son is grown. He's 5 years old, and, he's a very good boy. He speaks Spanish and English and French. He was in French immersion school, and very, very smart. And Clay and Anna were very proud of the child they raised, and they just wanted one more. So what did they do? They said, okay, time to go off the pill. Anna went off the pill, and she was a little stressed at work and everything. So Clay suggested to her, listen, you're not getting pregnant, probably because you're stressed. Why don't you just go see your mom and your dad, go to the river, hang out with your family for a little while, a week or so, and come back home. See if you can get the vacation from work. And Anna could, because like Clay, Anna was very well respected at her job as well. So Anna was able to get a week vacation, and it was owed to her anyway. She never ever took any sick leave. She never took any days off. With her son, she was very fortunate that he was always a very healthy child, and it seemed like she didn't really have that problem with a sickly child. So she went, and Clay watched the baby. Clay and his mom watched the son, and Anna came to the Dominican Republic, to Jessica, to visit her family for a week. Now, when she was here as a child, as a young girl and a teenager going into her womanhood, she never went to clubs, didn't drink, didn't really go out anywhere. And again, like I said, the most she did was go to the river with her family. This time around, she's older, and she thought to herself, why not visit some of her cousins in Santiago? So she went to Santiago for the night, and her cousins invited her the next day to come here to Sosua. And she thought, why not? It'll be fun. My gosh, that's what she came here for, to de-stress. So her and her cousins pile up in the bus, and they took the bus here to Sosua. When they arrived, they hit a local bar, sat down. The cousins, 3 cousins she had with her. Now, she didn't know the cousins very well before that, but she knew they were a little more of a faster lifestyle than her. But she never thought for the life of her that they were ladies of the night, and they were. ladies of the night. Now they knew she was a church girl. They knew that she was married and had a kid in America, but they loved the fact that she was American and she could speak such good English. And so she was an asset to them that night. And they were getting her to talk to people and everything like that. And by that end of the night, she could figure out what the girls were up to. So the girls agreed to stay in Sosua for the night at a villa. They met a few men. They met 5 men, and these 5 men were staying in a 5-bedroom villa in Sosua, Albate, and apparently it was a gorgeous villa, and the girls agreed to go back to the villa with the men. Anna went as well. So there's 5 men and 4 girls. So Anna is chilling. She's having a couple of glasses of wine, just watching all the interaction and, chilling out with everyone, not thinking anything. If her cousins go in the room with the guys, then that's their business. Anna had no interest in it at all. She missed her husband, so she went out on the back porch and she called her husband by the pool, and they were talking on and off for hours and hours. And she said to her husband that she's out with her cousins. Two of the cousins were sisters, and they spoke to Clay on the phone and everything. And Clay had never met those cousins before, but he knew they existed, and he told them all have a great time and everything. Now, Anna didn't tell where they were in a villa with 5 men because Anna knew Clay wouldn't like it, but she left that information out because she didn't want to upset him. So the night gets getting later and later, and the girls go to a different bedroom. Each girl goes to a different bedroom with a different man, and each bedroom had its own ensuite. So, like bathroom and everything. So they were all in their own little apartment, so to speak. Anna wasn't going to go in any of the bedrooms with any of the men, so she decided she would take the couch. So there was 2 men, out of the room, because 3 men were gone with the women. So there's 2 men out of the room in the living room. One is just drinking until he gets drunk. And then the other one is drinking, but he keeps looking at Anna, asking her questions, asking her who she was talking to on the phone. Does she have a boyfriend here? And she didn't tell him that she lived in America or too much information throughout the night. She didn't give them too much information, but, she was now talking to him, and he was trying to warm her up. She didn't realize that. But in any case, she was like, I'll be right back. And she went to the washroom, and the washroom was plunged, like it wasn't plunged in, something was in it. And so she was like, ew, the washroom is not plunged, it just won't flush. And he's like, well, the one that wasn't drunk, the one that was kind of quasi buzzing, he told her, well, you can use the washroom in my room, not a problem, come. And he took her to his room, and, she used the washroom and everything. By the time she got out of the washroom, he was laying in the bed naked, stroking himself. And she was like, sorry, I think you have the wrong idea. He jumped up and stood by the door. He's like, no, I know you're just playing shy. She's like, no, I'm not. Like, please let me go. He covered her mouth and he raped her right there. Didn't even put her in a bed. She said just stood up and just raped her right there. When he was finished, she's short and tiny, and he said he just picked her up, plunked her on him, boom, boom, boom. And he was like, and that was it. And she said he got a thrill probably from raping her. And she said she didn't know what to do. She ran back into the bathroom. She stayed there for a little while. She tried to get all of the semen out of her. She couldn't. She said she was crying. She washed herself out. She was in the bathroom with the door locked. She was afraid to leave that bathroom. She said she was just so terrified. Her cell phone was not in the washroom with her. Her cell phone was in the living room. She needed to call her husband. She didn't know what she was going to tell him. She was scared. So she prayed, and she vowed to herself at that moment that she would just take it and let it be, because she blamed herself that she wasn't being honest with her husband anyway. And what was she doing drinking with 5 men in a villa with her, ladies of the night cousins? And she just felt like it was just, she made a very bad decision. She prayed, because you remember her dad was a pastor. So she prayed for forgiveness. She prayed, and then she didn't get her period a month later. She didn't know who she was pregnant for, her husband or that man, because remember, her and her husband were trying just before she left. So now she had no choice but to tell her husband what happened, because what was she supposed to do? She tried every opportunity that arose. She tried to tell him, but she couldn't get the words out. And then it got so late in her pregnancy that she didn't know how to tell him. Then when the baby was born, she noticed that the baby looked just like the other baby when he was born, another boy. And she was like, wow, oh, thank God. And she was always scared that the mother would try to get the baby tested, the new baby, but the mother wasn't even interested. The mother now loved Anna to pieces, considered Anna to be loyal, and also considered Anna to be just an amazing woman, amazing mother. And she would never have gotten the test done again. But still, Anna never allowed the mother to take her children out of the house ever again. The mother never noticed or asked why. She just thought Anna was an overbearing mother. And the grandmother really didn't care. She loved that Anna loved her grandchildren so much and treated them so well. Now, fast forward. One day, Clay is watching the baby. And they decide that, they're going to go to the playground, hang out and everything. The older boy was in a program after school. And now the younger boy falls off the jungle gym. He banged his head. It wasn't a huge problem. Absolutely no blood, just a huge goose egg on the front of the head. It really concerned Clay. Clay was afraid of maybe a concussion, and the child kept looking like the child wanted to go to sleep. So Clay didn't want to waste any time. He rushed to the hospital, and he didn't have hardly any information or anything. He just went to the hospital, and the doctor asked during the intake what the blood type was. He said, your son's blood type? Clay's like, you know what? I don't even know my blood type or my wife's blood type. He's like, how do I find that out? The doctor's like, oh, you just go and you just get a test from your doctor. Clay's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do that one day. I think I would like to do that. So that was it. Clay did it. Clay was like, yeah, one day he went to the doctor and he just wanted to know what it was, because he heard at work that there was a book called Eat Right for Your Blood Type. Something like that, he told me it was. And I heard of that book myself many, many years ago, maybe about 12 years ago or more. And he said he heard about that book at work, and he wanted to eat right for his blood type. He wanted to eat for his children and live a long time and be healthy for his wife and his family. So he made it a point to find out his blood type. He couldn't believe he didn't know it prior. And then when he found it out, he was like, oh yeah, that's right, that is my blood type. He remembered that he knew it was Rh positive, A positive or something of that nature. So then he found out that his older son had the same blood type as him, but his younger son was O positive. And he was like, oh, that's strange. So he asked his wife what her blood type was. And she's like, why? What's up? And she told him she knew what her blood type was. And he's like, I don't understand why our younger son has a different blood type than us. Isn't he supposed to have at least one of our blood types? And she was like, oh, shoot. She didn't know what to say. And she's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And then he told her about what he was doing and eating healthy. He goes, I've been wanting to eat healthy. I just thought I'd go get my blood test done and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, why didn't you tell me you were doing that? And he's like, well, I didn't think it was any big deal. I went for my physical, brought the kids with me. It was a great day, And she's like, at this point, panicking. She knew at that point, that's how it was revealed to her, that the boy was not for Clay and that it was actually the man who raped her, that it was his child. She was floored. It made her go to the doctor, and she spoke with the doctor, and the doctor said to her that, no, that's not true. You don't necessarily have to share your parents' blood type. There's group blood types. So she was like, oh, okay, great. She was relieved. because she realized at that point that there's no way they could really find out the DNA of a child unless they did a test. And she was sure that Clay wouldn't, and she was sure that the mother wouldn't. So she did want to be honest, though, and stop being deceitful because it ate her alive. Anna was so sad that she would have to lie for the rest of her life. She just couldn't do it, and she was scared. So she went and got the blood test done herself. And when she got the blood test done, she found out that the child was for the other man. She was terrified. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to put this on airplane mode. She was terrified. She knew inside herself that she had to be honest now. So she went to him and she sat him down and she explained to him everything. And he wanted to leave her at first. He was scared. He loves his little boy so much. And that's what he said to me. Cerise, it's my little boy. No matter who's the biological father, that's my son. And he thought about leaving Anna for lying and not being truthful, but she didn't really lie. She just didn't share the info. You know, at the end of the day, deceit is deceit. And he ended up forgiving her. And Clay is a really stand-up guy, and I'm glad he did, because Anna is also a wonderful, wonderful woman. There's nothing that they can do now because she didn't do any rape tests, like the rape kit. She didn't do that the next day. She washed immediately after it happened, and that was about it. There's nothing they can do. She contemplated contacting her cousins to ask her cousins for the guy's information, but it was so long ago, and she knows that the cousins don't necessarily have information for every single guy that they're with. And at the same time, she didn't want to get into the story of her life and tell her cousins what was really going on because she wasn't that close to her cousins. So nobody knows at all. Not even the mother-in-law. But Anna, even though her husband Clay knows, she still has that fear deep inside her that someone else will find out that the child is not his. She's afraid that one day the child may need blood and Clay can't give it if something happens to her. She's afraid that if one day Clay needs blood and the child can't give it and the mother finds out, she's so terrified every single day that someone will find out her dark secret. But like I said to her, and like Clay said to her, it's nobody else's business. Nobody's paying her bills. She is, and so is Clay. And if he accepts what happened, then nobody else should have anything else to say. The two of them are doing very well. They don't know if they're going to tell the little boy the truth in the future, but Anna does want to be honest because she's been so deceitful in the past. She said if anyone learns the truth, it will be her son, and then the whole world can know after that. But she just needs everything to be quiet now so she can choose the right time and place when to tell her son that he is actually procreated from the result of a rape. She wants to tell him because she wants him to be empowered. She wants him to speak up to the world. But first she wants to wait to see if he's the type of child that can handle that type of information. It is a scary story, I must say, and we all have to be careful as women when we are around men who are looking for only one thing. So ladies, be careful, no matter where you are in life. And men, try to be a little easy, please. Not all women are ladies of the night, and they're not all yours to touch and do that with. That was just horrible. And the guy that did it, he's had to have gotten karma back by now, because I am sure that that type of person never goes unnoticed. God does not like ugly. And I am sure that that guy got his karma back. Thank you for joining me. Please look at my website at www.story-time-again.blogspot.com. Let me say that again. www.story-time-again.blogspot.com. If you have a story, please feel free to send it to me, and I will make sure that I post it I have stories coming in left and right, guys. So please, if I don't get back to you right away, just give me a heads up and say, hey, Cerise, I sent you my story. And then as soon as I read it, I'll get back to you and let you know when I will be posting it. Thank you again, guys, for listening. And thank you so much for allowing me into your homes, into your phones, and into your hearts and your laptops. Take care, guys. My information is www.cerisefairfax.com for soul coaching, or 829-702-7726.